This is Donald Hallway with the National Association of Tourism and Conventions. I'm here with the president, Mr. Eric Deggans, who has taken the chapter in a great direction, and we have built it into something that we all proud of here in Tampa. Right?
Thank you.
What makes you so interested in the community why is our local chapter so passionate about serving the community? Where did that come from?
What we always tell people is that one of the reasons why diversity in media is so important is to make sure that certain communities that don't have power, that don't have access to the same kinds of publicity and attention that other neighborhoods do or that other cultures do, make sure that those people get covered, make sure that their needs get explored. And so one of the things that the National Association of Black Journalists does and the Tampa Bay Association of Black Journalists does, we're trying to make sure that there are more people of color in newsrooms so that if a murder happens in a certain neighborhood, it gets covered with sensitivity. If there's some allegation about racial profiling in the police, or if there's some sense that people are being made to live in certain neighborhoods according to the color of their skin, we want to look into that in a way that's incisive and it's informative and it's accurate. And one of the things that we found, and this goes all the way back to the 60s, is that when newspapers and TV stations had to cover stuff that happened in the black community, but they didn't have black people in the newsroom, they'd get the story wrong all the time. So we wanted to get some folks in the newsroom who knew the community, knew the folks, knew the issues at hand, and could make sure that the coverage is accurate and timely. So that's what we're doing right up until now. We're giving out scholarships. We're trying to help kids get through college. We're trying to have a jobs bank on our website to let people know when openings open up. We're trying to help journalists through this time where the industry is contracting and a lot of people are losing jobs, and of course it's disproportionately affecting journalists of color. More journalists of color as a percentage are losing their jobs, so we have to work harder just to keep the diversity numbers up that we had 5 years ago. So all of this is really important, and and it's important to us to stay connected to the community, because that's how we bring our value. If we can tell people what's going on in the community before anybody else, that's your value as a journalist.
Yes, and as we, like you say, we in an economic downtime, in the industry is contracting, and there's some issues. But as we come up out of this, and you're talking about maybe the situation we have with the police, and also internationally, what role do you think, in America would never be an autonomous country? We all intricate, we in a globalization, big time now. And what impact do you think that black journalists can have on the international scene in terms of projecting America's image or seeing it from a perspective that is no longer just from a European perspective? Today in the world alone is not sufficient to address the rest of the world. Yeah. So what role do you think diversity in general and black journalists in particular can play in projecting the right type of image to America, America to the rest of the world?
There's a lot of things. Obviously we have the National Association of Black Journalists coming to Tampa this week, and part of that is a mini convention called the World Journalism Institute, where we bring together journalists from all over the world, particularly African countries, to talk about how to do journalism. The National Association actually has a program where we award $5,000 to a journalist to go over to Africa and pursue a story. And a journalist from Tampa, Nicole Hutchison, won that award a couple of years ago, and went over and watched mines and women working in the mines in Africa. There's this phenomenon where there are lots of women who end up working in the mines in South Africa because the men have been killed by AIDS. So that was a dramatic story, and NABJ paid for a black journalist to go over there and tell that story. So we're constantly building these ties between the rest of the world and America in different ways, and particularly Africa, because again, the problem that we have with a lot of coverage of Africa is the problem that we have with a lot of coverage of black communities in America, which is that you get the surface part of the story, you get journalists going over there who don't really understand what's going on, journalists over there who are interested in getting beneath that surface and really telling a nuanced story. And because of our historic connection to Africa, obviously, black journalists are going to be interested in going over there and finding out the real heart of Africa and telling some real stories about Africa. So
you need perspective to it, and at the same time,
so there's a lot of different ways that we can get involved, and also I just think by having more diverse media, having people of color affecting how the reporting goes, that shows Europe, that there's a different side to America than maybe they thought they knew, and that shows China there's a different side to America than maybe they thought they knew. And again, this sort of popular conception of what America is about has to be expanded to include people of color and different cultures. And we're doing that every day.
And the media is probably one of the most effective ways of doing that, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And it's taken many, many years of media to create these stereotypes about people. So now we're trying to sort of turn the gun back on itself, and use that self-same media to create these more accurate images. The Tampa Bay Association of Black Journalists to create this event on February 7th at the Florida Aquarium, where we bring together local people and people from the National Convention and have them sort of fellowship. So, Tom Joyner's going to be providing the entertainment, Kid Capri's going to be working the wheels of steel. We're going to have spoken word artists from the area who won a poetry slam that we presented last month. We're going to present the 4 best guys from that poetry slam and have them entertain as well. And it's just going to be a great showcase for Tampa, downtown Tampa, and the people of Tampa.
I noticed that I've been to many of your meetings, many of your functions, and I think what is emphasized the most is creating opportunity for young journalists to get into the industry. You have your Drummond Awards, you have, and I think the whole concept of your organization is kind of geared to that's your baby, that's your passion.
Sure.
And so, why is that so important to the chapter, and why is that so important to you personally?
Well, people joke about this whole, children are the future concept, but it really is true. You have to feed the pipeline. The way you ensure that there's more diversity in media, in part, is that you make sure that there are more people who of color who are trained to be journalists. You make sure that more people in those journalism schools are people of color. You make sure that more of the people who fill in those internship programs and work in those entry-level jobs are people of color. And then eventually they move up the ranks, and the next thing you know, you have a more diverse workforce. If you look at women, for example, there was a time in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, where the national news organizations weren't particularly diverse, and in that regard, they didn't have a lot of women. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you had this concerted effort to get more women into journalism schools, get more women into entry-level jobs, and now you look at the industry, and more than 50% of it is female. Mm-hmm. So it's a slow process, but it's something you have to constantly work at, and it starts with getting those kids in high school and showing them that they can do the kind of job that I did. I was on a radio show recently with Juan Williams from Fox News, mm-hmm. and he kept saying, that he felt that young black people, wanted to be rap stars or wanted to be NBA stars. And I said to him, young people aren't stupid. They know that it's a long shot that they could ever be a rap star, an NBA star. But the problem is, they think that the chance that they could do what you or I do mm-hmm. is just as remote as the chance that they might be an NBA star or, a rap star. And part of what we do is we try to change that equation. We try to make the kids understand that it is more realistic and that it's something they can do. And then we also try to change the situation so that it actually is mm-hmm. more realistic mm-hmm. And that it is easier for them to do. Mm-hmm. So, it's changing people's minds, and then it's changing the reality of the situation at the same time.
So it's a dual process. It's sure. Not just selling them a dream, but it's also creating opportunities for them. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes Tampa Bay what it is. We have organizations like the Tampa Bay Association of Black Journalists for bringing and facilitating the National Convention to give us all the opportunity to collaborate and cooperate together. Thank you very much.